addressing all of your needs. At any point during this call, please press stop.
Your response has been registered.
Somebody from our team who can get your question for the Congresswoman. Again, if you have a question or concern to share with us, please press *3 to be connected to somebody from our team. Thank you so much for joining our telephone town hall this evening, and now I will turn it over to Congresswoman TLIAB.
Thank you so much, Derek, and thank you so much to all of our neighbors throughout the 12th Congressional District for joining our live telephone town hall tonight. I'm your Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, and such, again, an honor to be representing you and your family in the United States Congress. So again, thank you so much for joining us. The telephone town hall is to hear from all of you, so I look forward to hearing your questions at the end. But I also wanted to let you know about some of the incredible work we've been able to do, and cannot thank you all enough to have the faith that you have on my team and I, and getting things done for you and your family. As you know, the neighborhood service centers that we created to help you and your family get through everyday challenges and issues has been incredible success, very successful throughout the district. We've already been able to bring back close to $6 million back directly to the pockets of our residents. And I want to give folks a sense, the neighborhood service centers, unlike other members I know have district offices, we wanted to create more of a kind of a community town hall center where, again, the different levels of issues from local, state, or federal issues, that we're there to connect you to the resources that you need and to use the power of this office to make sure that you get that call back from the various federal agencies. The neighborhood service centers are in Detroit, Inkster, and Southfield. I'll give you an example of the work that we've done in the neighborhood service centers. As we had a Southfield resident who had been fighting for Social Security benefits, for the disability benefits since 2019. And she was finally approved for benefits back pay in May 2023, but I had not heard anything back from SSA at that time. We were able to contact them a couple weeks ago, and within
the Access Live event operator has been notified that you wish to provide additional information.
Back amount of $73,815.10. I'm going to say all of it. And she'll be starting to receive her monthly benefits. Again, centers to make sure that federal government is working for you and is about the people. We also had a Westland resident who had been waiting for an update on disability benefits since July. And we got him in touch right away with SSA. And now he's going to be able to receive the $3,000.172 back pay within the 3 days that we contacted the agency. And one of our Livonia residents was awarded a refund of $4,076 for his student loans, which were forgiven by the Biden administration's current student loan forgiveness program. He received a letter acknowledging it, and everything had not received anything, but we were able to call, find out what was going on, and there was a communication gap, and we advocated for the immediate release of those funds, and he was able to get that refund check the day that we called. So again, just incredible work that we're doing at the neighborhood service centers. The last one is DTE. We get a lot of calls about DTE. We've been able to be very successful in getting folks removed off the shut-off list and working with a number of our community agencies that have funds, but also can help many of our families be placed on a budget program. We know of a senior citizen in Detroit who unfortunately was on a budget program, but unfortunately somehow had 20 cents balanced, and because of that 20 cents mistake, did not pay that additional 20 cents for his monthly payment, was kicked off, put on the shut-off list. We immediately called DTE, able to get him off that shut-off list at DTE and back on the budget plan. And with the actual we lowered his budget amount for every month. And again, advocating, make sure that, again, it is meeting the needs of our residents. But again, our office, picking up the phone and calling on your behalf, sometimes, it's unfortunate this is the case, but sometimes the power of your congressional office, you can get that call back quicker. And again, we are here to help in any way we can to advocate on your behalf. The biggest news, and I'm so incredibly grateful, is we got all 15 of our community projects that we requested through the appropriations process on the federal level. All 15 of these community-based projects were granted funding. It's about $17.1 million. I'll give you an example of some of the projects we were able to get funding. As you know, I created the Let Out Caucus, and I've been a passionate advocate in trying to make sure that the administration is prioritizing removal of lead and clean water, access to clean water for our residents. I always say no amount of lead is safe, and it's an incredible crisis that we have in our country where I think every corner of our country is experiencing contaminated water. But we were able to get about $4 million to Wayne County for multi-city lead service line replacement. This is going to go to Inkster, Garden City, and Redford Township for lead abatement, which again is very much needed. All three cities have been impacted by the increase in testing our water and finding out we have high levels of lead. We also were able to get $3 million to Detroit through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to facilitate additional lead service replacement lines. Both Langford Village and Beverly Hills in our community is going to be receiving close to $1 million for infrastructure related to water as well. We also, because some of the biggest issues we hear is about home repair and housing, we did get $1 million for home repair, specifically for Detroit's aviation sub and far west neighborhoods who have been impacted by numerous flooding. I think in one summer, some of our neighbors there were flooded 4 times in just one summer. We also were able to help with Alternative for Girls, an amazing nonprofit organization, to help construct the Dr. Maya Angelou Village, where we're going to be able to get them $1.1 million to help finish creating 45 units of affordable, supportive housing for families, especially mothers with children. A few others was $1 million for After the Storm. After the Storm is an organization that helps do cleanup efforts. As you all know, FEMA and the federal government does not do any cleanup, unfortunately, and I know that it must change. But in the meantime, we are trying to fight for our fair share of resources to make sure that our seniors and folks that are vulnerable are not exposed to mold and allowing water to sit in their basement. So, again, we were able to get $1 million for expansive cleanup efforts for families impacted by flooding. As you all know, Inkster is now, needing a new fire truck. We were able to get them a new fire engine and 1 new fire ambulance. They got $1 million through the federal government appropriations process. Lastly, we have a few others, but lastly, we were able to get City of Southfield, Dearborn for some of their projects that they have in line to one for environmental contaminant mitigation, others for, to make sure it's more a walkable community. Livonia with their expansion for their senior center, and then Dearborn Heights for their fire station replacement. Many people don't know, but our City of Dearborn Heights fire station right now is sinking. It's on clay that is now banned to be used in any construction or building. But unfortunately, their fire department firehouse is actually continues to sink down, so it needs a full replacement. Again, this is just a snippet of where the $17.1 million is going to go. But in total, we were able to secure over the last 6 years, as you remember, I was able to get $52 million in total for all the projects in the last 3 cycles through the appropriations process. As you all know, holding corporate polluters accountable is incredibly important to me. Just know that I'm working very hard on, we have a Right to Breathe campaign, not only in educating our neighbors who to call, how to report air pollution, odors that are unbearable, but also how to advocate. And so we introduced a Cumulative Impact Analysis bill. The Cumulative Impact Analysis Act was really birthed from incredible movement activists and advocates in Southwest Detroit, where I was born and raised. And we were able to come up with a bill that requires the EPA to consider all cumulative impacts of pollution and deny air permits unless they can demonstrate that there's no harm to our public health and to the community. And this is something incredibly important because many parts of of our district right now is impacted by dirty air and corporate polluters that are not, one, they're not complying with their air permits, but 2, they're also not complying with land use and continue to allow fugitive dust including silica and a number of other contaminants, to be airborne and impact our community. So we've been working really hard, again, in trying to change this culture within the United States of permission to pollute. Too many of our families, too many of our children are impacted negatively, their public health, and so much more. As you all know, DTE, I've been having town halls about holding them accountable. You all know DTE continues to hike our rates. Overwhelmingly, it's been a huge challenge for our communities. Some of our neighbors have had, no electricity for days, and some of even over a week. And I know we're really sick and tired of, again, the continuation of the peak hour increases and so forth, and have such unreliable utility. Right now, it's the second highest rate increase in the country that they'd received in 2015. And again, they continue to increase without any maintenance, without any real accountability. And so I introduced the Recognizing the Human Rights to Utilities. This is with a number of my other colleagues, and showing that, again, access to utilities is incredibly important. As you all know, it's even connected to the services you're receiving. I have so many of my families and residents who have medical conditions that require them to have access to electricity, but also refrigerating their insulin and their medication. So, again, it's very important. I've introduced Youth Homelessness Guaranteed Income Pilot Program Act, Public Housing for the 21st Century Act, again, around making sure that we're treating housing as a human right. Other bills that we've worked on is related to supporting our Congressional Mamas Caucus that we helped start. We always hear folks talking about mothers and how do we support mothers, but we never actually create policies with mothers. And so as the founder of the Congressional Mamas Caucus, we've had continued efforts to bring mothers into the room when we talk about affordable child care, paid family leave, Black maternal health, universal school meals, and reproductive freedoms. And so, again, this is just a snippet of some of the work we've been able to do. And please know this, from the End Child Poverty Act to a number of other things, I'm trying to tackle, with all of your support and your faith, the poverty crisis that we continue to have in our country. Overwhelmingly, our families are struggling. The cost of living is increasing. And so I'm trying to show my colleagues a pathway and having transformative bills that would really expand on what we started, over 2 decades ago with the Earned Income Tax Credit. The End Child Poverty Act is Earned Income Tax Credit on steroids. I mean, this would basically be able to reduce poverty by 64% among children in our country. Lastly, and then I'll open up for questions, as you all know, car insurance just went up again. Even with all the various reforms at the state level, it continues to increase and continues to be a huge burden on our families. Many of my families are paying up to a mortgage payment for their auto insurance. And so we introduced the Private Auto Insurance Discrimination Act. We call it the PAID Act. And as you all know, when you call for those rates, they ask for your marital status. Has nothing to do with driving. They ask for your education level. Nothing to do with your driving. Zip codes. Again, these non-driving factors should be prohibited and against the law. And so I'm working really hard with my colleague in New Jersey to basically prohibit, again, the use of non-driving factors that is layered on top of, I believe, very much predatory and discriminatory practices by the auto insurance companies. And, we're starting to get a sense from colleagues and others that they're hearing more and more in their communities about this particular issue. And so we're going to continue pushing, even pushing to see if they would even have more. We had a few congressional hearings on it, but we want to see more. With that, Derek, I'm going to hand it over to you. I know we have a number of the bills. We worked on gun crisis as well as medical debt, but I want to leave enough time for questions.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for that great recap of all the work we're doing. Just a reminder for folks who may have joined us later in the call, if you have a question for the Congresswoman throughout this telephone town hall, please press *3 to connect with somebody from our team, and so we can get your question.
The Access Live event operator has been notified that you wish to ask a question.
Bring you live on the call to ask your question to the Congresswoman. And just so you know, whether or not you're able to speak with the Congresswoman directly on the line tonight, you will have the opportunity to leave a voicemail at the end of this call, and someone from our team will return your call. Even if your question is not addressed during this town hall, you'll still hear from somebody from our team. And with that, I am going to start taking questions from our residents. I know that the Congresswoman spoke a little bit about auto insurance, but I wanted to bring Ms. Patricia Rutland from Detroit on the line, who has a question about auto insurance costs.
Yes.
Ms. Rutland, you should be live now.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Congresswoman, for addressing the hike in car insurance rates. In the last 3 years, our car insurance has quadrupled. In 2020, we were paying $136, and now we have, each year it's gotten more, but now we're paying $495. We belong to USAA, which is supposed to be one of the cheapest rates because my husband is a vet. We are over 65, and we have a perfect driving, both of us, perfect driving record and decent credit. I just can't understand why our rates would quadruple when the reforms came out in 2020 to say they were lower. Our rates are now higher than they were before the reforms came in. What can be done? What can help? We are the seniors, we get lost in this. We're the working poor. We still have to work even though we're retired. And $495 a month is just, we don't know what to do. We don't know whether to sell a car or what to do because it's just terrible. We can't afford it.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Ms. Patricia. I mean, you all know your education level, your zip code, your marital status doesn't determine your driving ability, neither does your credit score. And I'll tell you, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor did a study. Well, it was basically it's called Poverty Solutions. They did a study that showed that over 90% of the zip codes in Michigan were had unaffordable auto insurance rates. So we know this. The way I can try to fight it is to push back through the PAID Act and basically saying, look, the study showed over and over again, not only is people in the cycle of poverty because of auto insurance, but also it showed that someone with a drinking under the influence violation, a DUI, okay, you would think that they would have high rates of auto insurance, right? This person had a high rate of higher rate of credit score. The credit score was higher, right? Compared to somebody that had a lower credit score but no DUI, so they had no drinking and driving violation. The person with the lower credit score but the better driving record was paying 3 times more than the person with the DUI but the higher credit score. It doesn't make any sense. And so anything we can do to try to push back against the usage of non-driving factors is so important. Now, I know the Biden administration is looking at doing a study on disparate impact. I know this much. I know my residents, we're tired of being studied. We can see it as clear as day that right now the auto rates do not match nor the type of car we drive, our driving record, or anything. And we see this even with folks that marital status turns from being married to a widow. And they see, literally, some of our residents have seen their rates go up just becoming a widow. How does that have anything to do whether or not you're a good driver? So please continue to educate people about Prohibit Auto Insurance Discrimination Act. But in the meantime, you can contact our office, and we'll give you the number. And we can at least see if we can put pressure on the CFPB, which is the Consumer, oh my God, help me out, Derek, I always lose. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and they help with folks that get predatory lending, credit card fees, and so forth. I want to be able to start sending them folks like you, Ms. Patricia, about, look, you're in your mid-60s, you're seeing your auto insurance go up, and you want them to challenge why the auto insurance went up. And let's see if they can try to advocate on your behalf while we try to get the PAID Act passed.
Thank you so much, Ms. Patricia, for that question. Our next question is from Mr. Kavan Butler from Detroit. He has a question about returning citizens and recidivism. Mr. Butler, you should be on the call now.
Yes, this is Kavan. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing, Congressman?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, Doing okay. My question was mainly about basically about jobs as felons and the recidivism rate here in Detroit. A lot of, as you may know already, 2.8 million people in the state of Michigan have felonies, right? And it's majority of the time when you are a felon or a returning citizen, you're put into this box. This box basically states that you can only work certain types of jobs. They don't tell you that directly; they say it indirectly, right? And then directly they tell you oh yeah, we hire felons, but the truth is they only hire felons for a certain type of job. That certain type of job is always only really physical type of labor. So I'm actually creating an initiative behind that to help upskill returning citizens, felons, stuff like that, to actually help them, bridge those gaps. But that's been a major problem in the city. Me being a felon myself and a returning citizen, 9 times out of 10, any job that I apply for, I don't get it. They tell me, oh yeah, we'll consider you, but the truth is, they only want to consider me if it results in me putting my body on the line to make money, set up my mind.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Butler. And this has been a struggle that consistently is part of the culture in the United States. One, I really think the massive incarceration is become such a profit-driven machine in our country that it needs to definitely be addressed. But one of the things that I do want you to know, and I've been working with actually returning citizens who are now at a point where they're just going to go ahead and try to through a pathway to entrepreneurship and being their own boss because of these barriers. I know when we fought really hard in Northwest Detroit with even just Meyer removing the check box, asking about whether or not a person had a criminal background, especially, for you, Mr. Butler, and so many others that had done their due time, right? You're supposed to be able to come back and return back and not have these discriminatory practices in place in a way that I know is incredibly dehumanizing, Mr. Butler, and I'm so sorry. All I can tell you is that there are so many more people and organizations like Michigan Liberation and others that are working incredibly hard to push back against this constant culture of, this feeling, holding a lot of our returning citizens back who have incredible potential and have excitement about returning back and doing such incredible work in our communities. But I want to connect you, Mr. Butler, to various folks that are doing more entrepreneurship among our returning citizens so that they can create jobs and be bosses of themselves. I've seen this twice, Mr. Butler, where 2 of my returning citizens opened a trucking company, another, I think it was a catering company, and both of them ended up focusing primarily on hiring returning citizens. And it's been incredibly inspiring to see the fact that they're taking it in their own hands to say, look, if you're not going to hire, then I'm going to create a pathway to hire my brothers and my sisters that are returning citizens. But again, if there's ever any opportunity that you see for me to support initiatives like that, please let me know. I want to help fund more of these efforts to, again, allow our returning citizens to have much better job opportunities, also housing and so much more.
Thank you so much for that question. Our next question is from Miss Katrina from Westland. She has a question about rising food and gas prices and corporate greed. I will bring you now on the call, Miss Katrina. You're now live.
Hello. Hi, Miss Katrina. Hi, how are you? I'm okay. I'm sick of the price gouging, too.
I mean, we almost can't afford to eat. I mean, you got to decide really, do I eat? Do I put gas in my car? What do I do? Because a lot of people like me is on a fixed income. So what do we do?
I know, and one of the things that we've been doing is, I have my CEO pay one. It's like if you don't pay your workers a certain amount, then, the CEO should not, have have the tax breaks and things like that. But Katrina, the saddest part is, and I'm telling you the truth, it's almost bipartisan when I continue to see the kind of corporate tax breaks that some of these big companies are getting, many of which are not paying any taxes at all. And that doesn't when that happens, it doesn't go back into our in our society, into program that's needed. But also, it leads to continued feeding into.
You have already been placed into the question and answer queue. If you wish to be removed from the queue, please press 1 to confirm or 2 to cancel. You have not been removed from the question queue.
Money. But I agree with you, and I know I'm part of a bill, and Derek will look it up for me on ending price gouging. For me, it's the price gouging at that gas pump, the price gouging with food, all of that. Again, we need to be able to be the watchdogs in Congress, not just sitting idly by and allowing it to happen because they're making I don't take corporate PAC, but I know my colleagues will be taking donations for some of these industry people that continue wanting these systems to be broken and not to be held accountable. But yeah, Katrina, it is incredibly hard, but I want you to know this. If you ever hit a wall, and if you are hitting a wall, like the neighborhood service centers, we have incredibly important bills and partnerships with nonprofit organizations that help when your back is against the wall and you're like, this month is going to be too hard for me, Rashida. What can you do to help? Reach out to us because, again, we work with these amazing organizations that specifically help mothers like yourself that are struggling. And so maybe there's something we can do, and it won't be address all the incredibly awful and painful price gouging and the awful, just increasing costs and all that stuff, but at least maybe we can put some ease in some area of your life right now today while we try to get this bill passed. But it's called the Ending Corporate Greed Act, and Representative Jamal Bowman, Senator Bernie Sanders, myself, and others introduced it. But yeah, because the pandemic, if anything, COVID just showed us just how incredibly broken it is because, Katrina, they made more money during the pandemic while we were struggling. Like many of the top corporations were making the most money. It was unbelievable to see. But thank you so much for that question. And I can hear it in your voice of the fact that you're in survivor mode. And Katrina, you should be able to thrive, not just survive. And I'm really sorry you're going through all of this. And you are one of many, many, many I encounter that I hear the same thing. So again, if my team can grab your name and information, I want to make sure that you have the support you need while we try to get this bill passed.
Thank you, Ms. Katrina. Our team will definitely circle back with you after this call. Our next question is from Ms. Kim Lewis from Detroit. She has a question about home repairs. Ms. Lewis, you're now live on the call.
Thank you. Hi. I was just calling because I just find that, like the city of Detroit, sometimes the state may have these programs out here for home repairs, but if you're not at a sub-level, it's like I find that it's difficult for you to be able to have the repairs. Right now, my house on the outside just needing windows, roofs, doors, and things like that, and trying to get the help that I need is just very difficult. And then trying to work, you just not, ends is just really not meeting to the point where, you're able to get the work done and your home is steady falling apart. So my concern is based on what that's trying, but unable to qualify or, for the grants and things that's out there.
So, thank you so much. And, I want you to know, I always consistently saying this over and over again about how it's diverse in age. It's all over my district. I mean, there are people I've run into that just can't get their roof repaired or their gutters are falling apart and they need windows or the air is coming in. I want you to know that home repair consistently comes up everywhere I go. But one of the things I want you to know is that I know the state of Michigan right now is going to be releasing in April, and I'm going to keep a close eye on it, on a new program where they're putting $50 million specifically just for home repair. I can't remember what the program was called, but this is money through that they were able to draw down from the federal government, and they decided to appropriate about $50 million of it specifically just for home repair. And I would love to get your information. Let's see if you can qualify, because I believe this is going to be something that might not have to follow the similar guidelines that you have experienced with the city of Detroit. And so if we can grab your information, make sure that we connect you specifically with it. I mean, I've introduced bills like Restoring Communities Left Behind, specifically towards $5 billion towards home repair. But I know right now, in the next month, we're going to hear the state of Michigan unroll a new program through MISHDA, which is like their housing department, unroll a new home repair. And I just met with them, and they just told me they're going to spend $50 million on it. So I just want to make sure that we have your information, connect you, so that if there's ability that you can qualify, which I really think that's a huge possibility, because they're not going through the similar channels that you may have experienced in the previous years. But thank you for that question.
Thank you so much. Our next question is from Miss Bernice Lewis. She has a question about the Affordable Connectivity Program and the reauthorization bill. Miss Lewis, I'm bringing you on the call now.
Thank you. I would just like for you to address what's going to happen now that they're going to suspend the ACP program in April. So starting in May, whatever discount that you receive it will be put back on your bill. So you will have a full-fledged telephone, cell phone bill or internet bill, depending on which one you took, which one you chose for the discount. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so we would love to get your information, because did you get an email from an organization about this? Was there an email that came to you?
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got it from AT&T, and they've been sending emails, to let us know that this is getting ready to happen, and I got one today. And so I heard that you were going to do this town hall, so I thought I would bring it up today.
Okay, well, I want to see the letter, because this is the third time I've heard from somebody about it. Now, we did sign a congressional letter about affordable connectivity specifically, but I want to see what they're sending out to you while we try to renew the affordable connectivity program. Okay, but if you can please, somebody on my team will basically be able to get your information. I know that I'm a co-sponsor of one of the bills that was introduced about 2 months ago that would appropriate about $7 billion for the affordable connectivity program that you're talking about. But if you can, at least I want to see what AT&T specifically telling you all. But in the meantime, just know, I know my colleague from New York and myself and others have signed a letter asking for the renewal, and then I know we're sponsoring a bill to do it. But keep advocating, keep reminding us how important this is, okay? Because I think this is something that could actually be renewed, just because I think the utility companies and other folks appreciate it, because they want to be subsidized.
Thank you so much. So we have a lot of questions about this issue from residents all over the district, and they basically want to know what's being done to, one, hold DTE accountable, and then also affordable utilities in general, what Congress is doing to address the rising cost of utilities.
Yeah, so we have the utilities as a human right bill, and that's the beginning that basically says, access to internet, access to water, utility, gas, light is a human right. People can't live without that in our country, and that's incredibly important. We're going to continue pushing that. But one of the things that I need everyone to help me with is right now the Michigan Public Service Commission is the oversight for consumer energy, for DTE. They are the people that basically are supposed to, their duty, their government entity, they're appointed by the governor of our state, and they're supposed to basically oversee the hike rates, make sure they're reasonable. This is the same agency that continues to approve them only reimbursing us, $25, $35 or something of that sort for, spoiled food or even medication. And we all know $25 to $35 is not enough. And so before this call, I'm gonna tell you all more about who to call if you guys can hear me. Oh, here it is. Thank you, Larissa. Larissa just sent it to me. I want you all to write this number down. This is so important, because when you get that rate hike, when you're hearing about things that you're not happy with DTE, I need you to call the Michigan Public Service Commission. This is supposed to be our oversight, our watchdog. They're supposed to make sure that the rates are reasonable. They just approved another rate hike, y'all. But let me tell you, when the residents heard about the other rate hike, they advocated. It was last year, end of last year. They pushed and pushed and pushed. The DTE asked for, like, I don't know, close to 20, I don't know if it was 14%, something crazy like that. 14% increase in rates, and they ended up getting like less than a percentage. So it can happen if we advocate, if we educate and ask the Michigan Public Service Commission, which are appointees by the governor, to hold DTE accountable. We cannot continue to pay these one of the highest rates in this region, in the Midwest, and have the most unreliable. And so the number to Michigan Public Service Commission is 1-800-292-9555. Again, 1-800-292-9555. These are folks that you should be asking. I want the emails every time they get an increase in rates. I want to know about it. How do I get on your email list? Because again, the way we can do it is showing up and making sure we stay informed. Again, the number is 1-800-292-9555. And I've gone to two of their hearings about rate increases. They even want to reduce the reimbursement for people that go solar. So they haven't even stopped. I mean, the corporate greed that continues to spew out of these utility companies is very real. And the only way to do it is to organize and make sure we're educating the Michigan Public Service Commission. Thank you so much, y'all. But I really do need your partnership in making sure they hear you all loud and clear.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Our next question is from Ms. Sharon. She has a question about the Congressional Mama's Caucus. Ms. Sharon, I'm bringing you on the call now.
Okay, it's Sharon. Okay, thank you. Hello, Congresswoman.
I'm Sharon.
Hi.
I never get asked about the Mama's Caucus, so I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to know, is it open to individuals that is within your district or nonprofit organizations? I currently work with an organization and we're drafting up policies to deal with mental health services, accessibility, and mobile crisis units for mothers and children.
I love that. Oh, I love that.
But
well, I would love to get yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I didn't know if is there. I didn't know if there was a. Am I able to attend, or are there some meetings or some sort, or you have to be, a nonprofit organization in a certain area?
So the way we do it is we have briefings with members of Congress. So what I'm doing is the Congressional Mama's Caucus to get members of Congress to join the caucus, and we hear from advocates like yourself. So we've been hearing from folks that have been fighting for paid leave, child care. We do briefings. We work with a group that's a national organization, but they're housed here in Michigan called Mothering Justice. And they've been primarily really our go-to kind of folks to get us connected to people that want to talk about water in mothers. They want to talk about maternal health in mothers and things like that. But we would love to get your information and specifically try to connect you to see if you would like to, be part of future events. We also have an email that we send out every month, kind of an update of the things that we're doing in the Mama's Caucus, where you can possibly be plugged in. But I love that idea. We actually haven't had a briefing on mental health yet, specifically, so we're glad. Because as typical as a Mother's Caucus, we're talking about children and everybody else but ourselves, but I would love to talk more about it.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon. Our next question, we have a lot of questions about flooding in the Metro Detroit area as well as the FEMA process. If you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so it depends. So regarding FEMA, it is such a much more complex process than I could have imagined. I think my team and I, when we have the two national...
You have already been placed into the question and answer queue. If you wish to be removed from the queue, please press 1 to confirm or 2 to cancel.
The county had to say that there was an emergency, that the storm...
You have not been removed from the question queue.
Emergency that then goes to the state, and the state then declares whether or not there's been a national emergency. All that to say, though, for everyone, is let us help you go through the FEMA process. I know that flooding, specifically in August of 2023. I think it's the June date, but we want to make sure, one, if you'd still qualify, two, even the folks that did qualify and applied, maybe didn't get the full amount, we actually helped them appeal those claims. So know that our office can help you walk through that process. A lot of folks may not have pictures or other things, so we work with FEMA to see what other alternatives that we can provide. But I know specifically the last time that they issued a national emergency for Michigan, FEMA was April 24th to the 26th. And those are the storms that primarily, I think, impacted more Western Wayne. But again, we can help you through the FEMA process for flooding. Now, if you're a person that, experience flooding all the time and things like that, we want to connect you to after the storm that specifically ties you to a nonprofit organization that we just got federal funding for that can possibly do an assessment of what they can do to prevent future flooding.
Thank you so much for all those questions. I'm also going to combine the next two. We have two questions, one from a resident in Dearborn and Dearborn Heights as well. But they're basically asking, why can Congress afford money for war but not investments in our communities?
What was the question? This is great. Is this regarding putting war before our communities?
Yeah, basically putting war before investing money for endless war, but before our communities.
Yeah. So I actually introduced war profiteering. So I want you guys to know what's happening in Congress. I really think it's incredibly dangerous, undemocratic, that many of my colleagues currently own stock in war manufacturing companies. So I introduced the Stop Politicians Profiting from War Act. This is incredibly important because it ends this corruption and bans members of Congress and their families from owning defense stocks. Because every time we go to war, every time a bomb is dropped anywhere in the world, my colleagues are profiting off of that personally. And that is a huge conflict of interest. But I also, again, elected officials should not be able to use their positions of power to get rich from defense contractors while, continuing to vote for sending billions of dollars in military funding overseas to bomb innocent civilians. So as I continue to fight back and saying, look, $886 billion military budget, massive weapons giveaways to foreign governments, that is not, one, making us safer, but also is so egregious in that the Pentagon hasn't passed an audit in I think the last 6 audits. They did not pass their audit. This is, to me, just disheartening. And I'm so angry sometimes about it because I can go to my high school and I see garbage bags over some of the schools in my district, garbage bags over the fountains. Why? Because they don't have clean drinking water. Some of my schools don't have clean drinking water, but we have billions and billions of dollars for war. And the way I think we can stop the corruption and stop my colleagues being obsessed and addicted to war is making sure they're not actually profiting personally from war.
Thank you for those questions. Our next question is from Ms. Dana Prius. She has a question about health care for seniors. Ms. Price, you're now on the call.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I was wondering if anybody could advocate for seniors. I am grandfathered into the state pension program. I work through Eastern Michigan University, and as we made more money, I only had to pay $10 every time I visited the doctor. Now, as a senior, retired, disabled, between my husband and I, we've had 12 surgeries, and now we are thousands of dollars in debt. And on top of what they take out of my check towards health care, on average, we have to pay $283 a month. And most of the time, we just feel like if something's wrong, we're not going to go to the doctor because we're so in debt from... we were forced into a Medicare Advantage plan under Rick Snyder instead of leaving our Blue Cross and Medicare separate. And is there any way we can cut healthcare costs for seniors, because when we go in to have surgery, on top of what the deductible we have to pay for the year, we have to pay 20% of the surgery. And there was predatory billing from the hospitals, and we had to threaten them with lawyers and everything to just get them to. Is there anything that can be done?
Yeah,
especially for seniors?
one, I'm so sorry you're going through this, and you probably heard me talk about the fact that we have sick care in our country, where the sicker you all, my residents and like our communities get, the more money the healthcare industry makes. But one, know that I'm trying to end medical debt from ever appearing on people's credit report, period. It should be prohibited completely from appearing on people's credit report. And I think our country is moving towards that direction. And that's important because I hear so much, some of the concerns is that we're seeing and hearing more and more of our families filing bankruptcy because of medical debt. And as you can see, it's created a much more bigger hardship during the time where you should be retiring and with human dignity. And so just know we're doing that. I also want to urge you to, use our office to try to connect you to some of our federally qualified health centers. These are literally federally funded, and it's not going to fix all the broken systems of, corporate greed within our healthcare industry. The fact that right now we can't, we need to get as close as possible to Medicare for all or universal health care in our country. While we do that, we're trying to stop, surprise medical billing, the junk fees, everything on top of everything. But in the meantime, I want to be able to help you now. And while we try to fight back against, the continued big pharma and healthcare, lobbyists that continue to taint our democratic process, because I think we would have had a huge reform within our healthcare industry that is not driven by profit but by care. And so I just, again, though, in the meantime, really, really want to make sure that we have your information. And what county do you live in? Is it Wayne or Oakland? I'm sorry, did they mute you?
I believe we got disconnected.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully we got her information, Derek, because in the meantime, I want to see what we can do about some of the debt that she has now from medical services.
Definitely. We have everyone's information who has asked us a question in our records, so we will make sure to circle back and reach back out to everybody who has asked us a question tonight. For our last question, I wanted to bring on Mr. House from Dearborn Heights, who has a question about Ecorse Creek. You're now live on the call with the Congresswoman.
Yes, hi. Mr. Hussam, I was just asking about the Ecorse Creek. They've been talking about it for decades that
I know.
they're going to solve the issue, and I don't know what's happening. I mean, is there anything?
Well, we did get an update. So, yeah. So, I know they don't call it a pond, Mr. Hassan, but like, it's like they're creating this detention basin to the building. So we got them I got them $1.4 million to do that. The project is currently in what they call design phase. They're designing it and seeking, requests for proposal from contractors for the project. But I want to get your information and make sure that you get our e-grant newsletters, because as the project progresses, I want to be able to make sure that you're getting updates. But let me tell you, though, and just as to measure expectations, this is going to help reduce flooding by like only 20% of the problem. The other problem is I think there's going to be a massive discussion about whether or not people can live along the creek, especially those that continue to, again, experience flooding, and what that really means. Again, I would encourage you to make sure that you're staying in contact with my team and so forth regarding it. The other part, the major part of it, is maintenance. I'm really, really happy that they are now going to do all this cleanup within the pipes. I mean, I heard it's a huge water infrastructure that needs to be cleaned out. And for years, it only had less than $100,000 for cleanup, where it needed millions of dollars. So I know that Wayne County did $10 million for maintenance of Ecorse Creek. That's going to be a heavy lift. I think that'll probably take another 20-30% of the issue. But again, I just want you to know there's different projects and things in place to address the continuation of the flooding along Ecorse Creek. But again, I want to make sure that you, as soon as they get like which company it is, I want to hear your thoughts about like how's it going, things like that. When that pond gets built, I know it's a basin, but retention basin. But when that pond, I call it pond, when it gets built, I also want to, and hopefully soon, I want to hear, how much of a relief has it been for some of the residents. Because again, they continue to measure my expectations, with this amount of money. They said, look, we can do this. This is going to be 20% of what the issue is. The other is maintenance. The other is all along the creek, it continues, the water continues to rise, and we got to deal with the fact of whether or not, it's not really a creek. Maybe it's from what I understand, they switched it from being a river to a creek, and then people started building homes on it, and like, what do we need to do to address it? But yeah, the county drains at least the $10 million is going to be huge. I know it's going to be a huge relief for folks. They're going to see a difference.
Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and I just want to let everybody know who has asked us a question that is specific to casework or federal assistance that our amazing casework team is going to follow up with you after this call. And for the folks who had questions or concerns that we are unable to get to on this call tonight, I just want to remind folks to please stay on the line as the telephone town hall concludes, and you will have the opportunity to leave a voicemail at the end, and we will circle back with you. So we look forward to following up with everybody after this call to make sure that all your needs are met and all of your questions are answered, even if we weren't able to get to them this evening. You can always call our office directly as well. That's our number is 313-463-6220. That's 313-463-6220. And now I'm going to turn it over to Congresswoman TLIAB for closing remarks.
First of all, thank you all so much. This was incredibly engaging attendees. We had close, I think, over 3,000 people on the call, so we couldn't get to everybody's questions, but they were incredibly important. I just want you to know our door is always open. Helping you get through everyday challenges, issues today is equally important as I try to fix these broken systems that continue to cause, you and your family harm, but also challenging times. Again, it shouldn't be this hard to be able to take care of your family, to have a thriving and good quality of life. So again, make sure that the neighborhood service centers are here to help you and support you. This is where I get all of my bill ideas. This is where I know what the priorities are. And your engagement tonight really continues to inspire me to work even harder for you. Thank you again. And again, it's always an honor to be able to represent you and your family in the United States Congress. Have a good night. Please be safe.
The Access Live event has ended.
This is your Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. I wanted to personally thank you so much for joining us at tonight's live telephone town hall. I hope you found this discussion as useful as I did. If you'd like to leave a message, you can ask the tone. Please do state your name clearly, as well as your address, phone number, and email. And again, thank you so much. It's truly an honor to represent
It's 7 o'clock.
You in Congress. You can always call us in the future at 313-463-6220. Again, 313-463-6220. Take care. Bye.
If you wish to leave a message, please press 1. Otherwise, you may simply, at the tone, please begin recording your message. When you have finished recording, please hang up.
Hello, my name is James Chandler, CEO of FBI Angels and activist located in Detroit, Michigan, Wayne County. I had my question about accountability, government accountability. How the government is benefiting off we the people, our ignorance. According to the 14th Amendment, there are still a lot of things not being done and given to we the people that we deserve, that we have a right to have. 31 USC 3123, we have to discuss that the debt belongs to the government and they have a responsibility to handle the debt and to give us what's due to us through the 14th Amendment. And also I would love to see a list of people, especially government officials, who are profiting off war I need to see that list. They need to be exposed. Um, we need to level the playing field. Stop letting the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. How about putting low-income people on Section 8? And by low-income, I mean people that's not making $250,000 to $500,000 a year. A lot of times when we try to do government assistance or anything like that, they consider us making more money than we believe that we're making, and we are not credited certain things because we make too much when we actually don't, because we're low income. So that low income is $250,000 to $500,000. We're not making that, so we should be extended Section 8, since these corporations are getting big tax breaks and tax write-offs. You know, we should have something coming to us. Also, the police and government officials should be allowed to be on citizens arrest. We are tired of being coerced and offended and tortured by these people when they violate our rights. So again, it's about accountability. And thank you for this time.
Goodbye.